His range is incredible, and then he can turn around and do, you know, assassins with Stallone and so forth. So I picked him as the physical model for Azrael. So in a way, this is my book for Antonio in a way. But I mean, it's, you know, Antonio is not Azrael and so forth. And Antonio knows this. I mean,
in a way, this is my book for Antonio. Dear Antonio, make this movie. Guess who's back? Back again. It's Joel from the Articulate Coven, and I am back with more Anne Rice reactions. Ashley, I swear, I keep promising that she's going to do the next one. She's got 2 recording today, so the next 2 reaction videos for a couple of weeks will be Ashley's reactions to these Charlie Rose interviews as we continue. A couple of announcements before we get into this video, though. I do want to tell you about our merch sale. If you haven't seen it on our socials or here on the YouTube channel, we've got t-shirts, we've got tote bags, we've got tank tops. I think that's all the things that start with T. We've also got a notebook, and we've got a couple of hats to choose from as well, a bucket hat and a baseball cap. Anyway, all that stuff's got the logo. We've got couple of things with it's one of my favorite moments of our coverage of season 1, honestly. Ashley commented about Claudia's journey and said, when no one chooses you, you have to choose yourself. Just one of the best ones. So anyway, that's on the notebook, it's on the tote bags. So this will be our first sale, and then we'll do another sale with some new items based on your feedback and what worked. That's coming in probably November or late December when we're getting ready for Mayfair. So that'll be your next opportunity. Links in the description of this video, as well as our articulatecoven.com. You can go there too. This is from 1996. This is Anne Rice on Charlie Rose. Let's get into it.
Author Anne Rice's blend of eroticism and mysticism has thrilled readers for over 2 decades. She is best known for her Vampire Chronicles and Mayfair
like
Witches
the headdress,
series.
Anne.
In her 17th novel, Servant of the Bones, a supernatural hero journeys from ancient Babylon to modern-day New York City in search of redemption.
This is okay, I don't know whether this is an awesome book. I remember it being an awesome book. I'm excited to read it again, honestly, and I'm excited to hear her talk a little bit about it today.
I am pleased, once again, to have Anne Rice here on this broadcast. Welcome back.
thank you, Charlie.
Now,
Great.
I do like you. Now, here is what's interesting. This is the first novel with under your name,
Yes,
that has not been previously sold to the movies.
that's right.
And what does that mean? What's the significance of that?
It means I have a choice. It means I didn't make the decision a year ago. It means that I have all the options, that I can do all the things I want.
Wait, okay, so Charlie is saying there that Servant of the Bones was her first novel, at least since the very beginning, that hadn't been sold for options to film before the book came out. Not that it wasn't. Yes, that's the deal. Like, she had this available. I'm guessing it's probably still available. I don't think I've ever heard this one being optioned.
See then, Hello, David.
There are lots of Hello, David
Talking about David Geffen there, obviously, who was the producer of the 94 Interview with the Vampire film.
calls, but David's off building DreamWorks now. David's,
so we're talking David Geffen, who produced Vampires.
Yeah,
did that make money?
Vampire made a fortune.
Charlie, you asked this already on the last episode. It made money then. It's going to have made more by now with VHS.
Made $250 million worldwide. Plus, it's even making money for me, if you can believe it. I mean,
really?
when the
They
writer
got
gets a
down to you, did
percentage,
they?
when the scriptwriter gets a
bet you. You know what I
percentage, I
bet?
mean, the movie.
So she's joking there, but it's true. The way that Hollywood accounting is done as a rule, it's done in a fashion that, you know, all of the profit is eaten up. And so anybody who has points, unless you're an executive producer, you probably don't get any back end participation, you know, profit after the movie.
I bet yours was taken right off the top. You know, the first dollar came in, they said,
right.
here's 50 cents for Anne.
Sure, yeah, right. No way. But no, it did very well. But David has gone off to do DreamWorks with Katzenberg and Spielberg. I'm sure you heard about their famous White House meeting, and he's no longer the guiding spirit, so nothing of mine is really being made out there right now. I mean, Warner Brothers controls all the vampire books. They control the Witching Hour series that I wrote, but Jim Cameron has just bought another book I wrote called The Mummy.
A very good director.
And I think
boy, I remember this being the hope for Anne, that The Mummy was going to get made by James Cameron. I had forgotten Warner Brothers owned the rights to the vampire stuff, but then David Geffen left to go make DreamWorks, and so it was in limbo. Nobody really wanted to do it except for Geffen, and Geffen didn't have the rights anymore because he had left his company.
I think Jim Cameron will do a wonderful job.
He's a terrific director.
Yeah, I think he's terrific. I really do. I think he's quite fabulous. I think he's sort of a genius, really. And I'm very delighted that he wants to do The Mummy in Edwardian period.
We've talked about this before. In the end, you were happy with Brad Pitt and you loved Tom Cruise.
Absolutely. Still love Tom Cruise. I think he was fabulous. The more I've seen, I find it hard to watch Interview. It's very emotional, but it keeps coming on television. Like I'll walk into the room and there will be, you know, Tom dying on the floor, stabbed by Claudia.
Right.
And I think, oh my God. But I think he did a fabulous job, and the performance holds up, and it was really wonderful. I'm very happy for success with Mission Impossible. Very, very happy. You know.
He's shown once again that Cruise magic and bring him into the theaters, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Was this difficult for you to write? Because you said here last time when you were talking about Men Like the Devil, you said that the experience was agonizing. Was this agonizing?
She said the experience of writing was almost calling on a religious experience, just demanding it. And I joked that reading it was sort of demanding to have a religious experience as well.
This was agonizing. I wanted to take I wanted to create this spirit here, Azrael, that is really tricked into doing something that he thinks is for God. But it turns out to be something with a hook and a catch. And he becomes a spirit or a ghost for 7,000 years, and then he reemerges in New York on Fifth Avenue.
In present time.
Yes, he witnesses a terrible crime. He doesn't know who's called him forth. You know, he's a spirit that's locked to his own bones, and the possessor of the bones is the master. He doesn't know who's called him forth. And he really has to start thinking for himself and deciding, do I have a soul and can I do something?
Yeah, I really want to read this book again. I remember it being great. I always felt like, just as Anne was harmed by her success in that she didn't take any editors basically after Queen of the Damned, in my opinion, I think she was harmed by that slightly. I think the books would have been better with an editor, but also I think that she was sort of pigeonholed by the fact that the vampires sold better than anything else, that she didn't explore some of these others quite as much. I still haven't read The Wolf Gift or The Wolves of Midwinter, or whatever the other one is. I haven't read the Wolves books yet, and so I mean, I know she did do other things, but she kept coming back to Lestat and his Coven.
So I was able to get in here and give what I thought was a very exciting global perspective of this spirit emerging from ancient Babylon, 600 BC, when by the waters of Babylon as we lay down, etc. I was able to talk about East and West, what was going on the news, what he saw around him, all of this. And that was very exciting to me, to bring the contemporary world into this, yet still use the supernatural and the paranormal, which have always been so powerful for me as tools. So I had a ball with it, but it was tough.
It was.
So, boy, I do like that. And it's interesting that she got to do that with, a period piece with The Mummy, and then with Servant of the Bones, she's doing a similar story, man out of time kind of thing, supernaturally bound to the modern day. But the modern day was actually the modern day at the time.
Yeah.
He's not a vampire.
No, he's not a vampire. He's a ghost. He's a ghost who's locked to these golden bones. And he's a ghost who's told that he must do evil, and he decides, maybe I'm just not going to do that. So he gets an opportunity in the 20th century to stop something extremely evil, and that was very exciting to me. And what I'm right was, there's a great deal in it about terrorism, a great deal in it about genocide, a great deal in it about the problems that are in the news right now that are concerning me, that are obsessing.
All right, Anne, you're making me think it might be more as problematic as I worried it might be.
Me every night.
What are you obsessed by? Those subjects?
Sure.
Are you obsessed by terrorism when you see what happened in Atlanta? And what you see, like,
if I had my life to live over again, I'd become an anti-terrorist. I'm thinking of going to the government now, volunteering. Do you want me to be an anti-terrorist? I'll go in and get those guys. I mean, really, terrorism is unspeakable.
She'd offered to, she'd admitted in the last episode that she was fantasizing about killing drug dealers in a limo.
Because it strikes at the innocent and the completely powerless.
You could call on some forces to oppose them that we may not
I would do
access to.
I would do it in a minute. But anyway, this book is kind of about that. It's certainly a supernatural novel. It's a ghost story, but it's also about all of that.
Now, what is this about Antonio Banderas, who's an actor? Did you base this, or you were thinking about him, or you were
I wanted a model.
eroticizing about him? Or
I had forgotten about that. So obviously Antonio played Armand in Interview with the Vampire, and apparently he struck Anne's fancy.
Something when you...
Beg your pardon. I wanted a model for Azrael. I wanted a model, you know, and my characters look too much alike. Right. You know, they're all feline, androgynous, gorgeous, you know, irresistible.
Are they all bisexual?
Yeah. And I wanted a model for Azrael, and I chose Antonio consciously because I thought Antonio...
Everybody's a little bit bi, Charlie.
Antonio Banderas is not only just one of the most beautiful men in the world, he's an extraordinary actor. He's a Latin lover, and yet he's a magnificent actor. And he had so knocked me out with the sensitivity he had displayed in the movie Philadelphia, where he played a homosexual lover of Tom Hanks. I had so loved him in that last scene when Hanks was dying. You know, I thought...
Spoiler alert.
The man's range is incredible. And then he can turn around and do, you know, Assassins with Stallone and so forth. So I picked him as the physical model for Azrael. So in a way, this is my book for Antonio in a way. But I mean, it's, you know, Antonio is not Azrael and so forth. And Antonio knows this. I mean,
in a way, this is my book for Antonio. Dear Antonio, make this movie.
And I sent him, I told him.
You sent him what? You sent him a copy of the book? And said
yeah,
this,
yeah.
And said you were the model for, but...
Yes, yeah. I did indeed. Now, but that doesn't mean anything. I'm just, you know, this means absolutely nothing. He may not have the slightest interest. I mean, he's very cordial to me. I spoke to him after Interview with the Vampire, and he was wonderful. I think he did a great job in the film.
You liked him. That's how you first became aware of him.
I think he's extraordinary. I think we're in a time right now of extraordinary actors. Antonio Banderas, Gary Oldman, Ray Fine, Tim Holt. We have a whole bunch of them. I'm leaving out some. I can't think of them all, you know. But we have really versatile young actors.
Anne was always a movie buff, and she watched a lot of films. She talked a lot about actors, and she always had very much a movie star mentality. She had her favorites, and she loved them in everything that they were in, and wanted them in more stuff. Wanted them in her stuff.
Right now, you remember when 10 years ago it was mainly the New York street crowd? I mean, they were great, and they're still great. Sure, yeah, Pacino and De Niro and Pesci and so forth. And I still will go to any movie where they're going to kick somebody to death, you know, mafia style. But that was at that time.
They do a lot more than that.
Their range, but I mean,
listen, they made a few of those movies, but come on, Ann, they make more than that. I mean, to be fair, they all made The Irishman, where they kick some people to death.
Well. But you know what I mean. Raging Bull was magnificent, but the range of those actors had a limit.
That was made in the 50s, wasn't it?
No,
the 70s, actually made by Scorsese in the 70s.
Yes, Scorsese, and that was a great movie.
Why are they all bisexual?
My characters? Yeah. Didn't we get into this last time?
We did, but I wanted to, because you...
Well, I have a bisexual mind. I see things bisexually.
Yeah, so
I don't...
I have a bisexual mind. I see things bisexually. Thank you. Thank you, Anne. Screenshot.
Both qualities,
yeah, and I mentioned before that I've been married 34 years, and since I live a life that is not sexually active, really, I get I have the freedom to see the beauty of all different kinds of people, and to...
Anne, you're telling on yourself. You and Stan could still kick it? Come on.
Life is very erotic to me and very sensuous in a very, I wouldn't say innocent way, but... non-active way. I don't know how to say it, but certainly when I sit down to write,
not going to help you out.
when I sit down to write, and I have
in a non-active way. Life is very sensuous to me in a non-active way.
I had this gorgeous picture of Antonio. You know,
that's a sexual experience.
Yes, and I also he was a perfect model. That, like I said, the eyes, the face, the character. I'm
exploring some of the same ideas that we have talked about over a number of interviews we've done.
That's a sexual experience when I'm writing, thinking of Antonio. Okay.
Because not everybody's seen every interview, and so therefore it becomes relevant.
No, I was teasing you.
It becomes relevant. Having said that, why the fascination with mysticism for you?
Doesn't everybody care about where we came from? I mean, do you realize we're going to die?
Is that what mysticism is? A concern about where we came from?
You had a guest on earlier who said that most of us were going to die. I mean, you know, all of us, to the best of my knowledge, are going to die. Right?
Yeah.
I got news for you. We're all going to die. It's a question of when. But yes, no, the point is well made. Isn't everybody interested in those questions? Doesn't everybody think about this stuff?
I mean, don't you care? I don't understand why everybody isn't obsessed with mysticism. I mean, this book is about why are we here? Who can we listen to? Who is God? Who are God's representatives? You know, what do you do? This young man, Azrael, is told that he can save the Jews and get them back to Jerusalem if he cooperates with Cyrus the Persian in the famous year when Cyrus came into Babylon and liberated the Jews, and they did go home to Jerusalem, in fact, and they rebuilt the Temple of Solomon. But he's also tricked into something. He's tricked into something. And so I'm asking the question, well, you know, who can you listen to? Who's the priest? Who's the God? Who's you know, what is it about? Then he comes up in the 20th century, sees this murder, and finds himself involved again with a modern religion, a sort of huge televangelist church, and some complexity.
Joel Osteen's the bad guy in Severed of the Bones, film at 11.
And I did a great deal of research, by the way, on the Hasidim for this book, because I have several scenes set. I'm fascinated with the Hasidim because,
well, the Hasidim here in New York.
They most resemble, for me, the kind of Catholics we were back in the 40s. Those, you know, they are the only.
I've heard that before. Orthodox Jews compared to, you know, the trad Catholics, so to speak, the kind that Anne was raised as.
People I know today whose lives are as thoroughly drenched in spirituality and ritual as ours were. In fact, their lives are more so. But when I was a Catholic in the 40s, we really did go to daily mass. We wore certain kinds of clothes. We didn't go to see certain movies. We didn't, you know, television was going to rot our souls. You know, kissing was, you would go straight to hell, you know. You know, and the Hasidim.
She's a very sensual person, though. So you can see where some of the conflict in her writing comes from.
Hasidim.
Now I understand what happened to you.
But I'll tell you what,
Charlie gets it.
I tell you what we had was a spirituality. We had a great spirituality.
If you think that sex and kissing will send you to hell, then that's put you on the wrong road right there.
Well, I'm one of the more famous pornographers in America. I think we know that.
I mean, at the time, honestly, let's see, this is 96. That's probably true. It's like Bob Guccione, Hugh Hefner, and maybe her. Who else is bigger than that in 96? I don't know. Pornhub didn't exist, is what I'm saying.
You came out all right.
I want to see if all those people read the book go to hell.
Yeah.
You know?
Anne's grand spiritual experiment.
I don't know. I don't think they're going to go to hell.
But mysticism flows out of everybody's concern about where they came from and where they're going.
Yes, it does. And it's also something very deep in most horror fiction. And I am writing horror fiction. What separates me from many writers is I believe that a horror novel can bear the burden of all you know and all you care about. And I believe I can make this a great book, you know, even though I'm talking about charms.
I can make it about all you know, but also make it about charms and spells and genies and djinn. Interesting. I mean, but that's the crux, right? Like, I Interview with the Vampire and the Vampire Lestat and the Vampire Chronicles at large, and the rest of her writing. They are about life experiences. They are about the big questions that we all ask. It's just told through the more exciting lens of a vampiric life and vampiric individuals.
And spells and genies and magicians and so forth. So that I tried very hard to do that. And I hope this book will have a great moral impact on those who read it, as well as being a thrilling tale. I think it should be all that.
Who else did you research in terms of putting together this story? What other kind? You went to the Hasidim, and what else?
I researched a lot about Babylon and about Sumer. You know, I buried myself in the history of the Middle East.
Man, one of the things that I miss most about Anne is what she would do on Facebook, where she would post what she's reading and what she's researching, and you'd go, ooh, great, we're going to get a novel set in ancient Egypt. We're going to get a novel set in, you know, Sumeria, whatever. I miss her.
Extremely involved in the whole history of what we call the Holy Land. Where there has been endless war for the last 7,000 years. It was a new experience. I had always been somebody fascinated by Egypt, and I found, when I went back into the history of Babylon and Assyria and Sumer, I found us. This is really from what we descend, you know, through the Hebrew Christian tradition. This is really our lineage. Now, I mean, ancient Egypt is still mysterious. Nobody really knows what they were thinking.
How long does it take you to do this?
Well,
the research that you do.
I was doing research for this while doing Memnoch the Devil. You know, both books came out. Memnoch the Devil was the last book where Lestat confronted God and the devil. Right. Both books really came out of the same research. You know,
the origin of the species and the origin of the religious stories we tell each other.
I wanted to deal with the idea of the human or the immortal who doesn't necessarily trust the representatives of God or the representatives of the devil, and that both books are about that.
Do you listen to readers? Do you do book signings and listen to readers and all that? And what feedback do they give you?
Well, they give me a tremendous feedback on the spiritual aspects of the books. I mean, horror readers and science fiction readers really love lush language.
100% true. Still true. It's true for horror and genre TV, too. The best genre TV shows, whether it's things like Lost or Battlestar Galactica or, Interview with a Vampire today, they're asking these same questions. Purpose, meaning, what do we owe our fellow man? What is this all for? Where do we come from? Where are we going?
They love poetic language and they love ideas. That's always been true. You can go to the dinkiest little science fiction store in the slums of a big city and you will find people standing in there talking about the philosophy of, the various science fiction writers. They've always been extremely sophisticated. And so from the very beginning, they have given me feedback on that. I just did a signing in New Orleans in a church. We were talking about that earlier.
You bought a church.
This was not
she did buy a church. I forgot about that.
This was a church that I was baptized in, made my first communion in, and is now no longer consecrated because it needs immense repair. And I did my signing in it in order to bring 2,000 people to it. And I signed for 8 hours at the altar about 2 steps from where I made my first communion. It was a very, very weird experience. But people coming through that line over and over again talked about what the meaning of the books were. It's not just we enjoy them, they mean so much.
And when you get on radio shows where you have these call-ins.
It's not just that we enjoy them, they mean so much. I mean, I've been podcasting about these books for 7+ years now, waiting on a TV show that's only been around for a little over 2. So yeah, they mean a lot.
I bet they do that up one side and down the other.
Yeah, they do actually.
The meaning of the books.
Yeah, they do.
And what about the internet? Do you do that kind of interactive stuff?
I'm connected with something called Salon, but I
Charlie, damn well she does the internet.
Barely understand what it is.
Salon. Well, it's a new company that's trying to.
Yeah. Listen, can I say something to you that's completely...
Oh, that's fair. I forgot. This is 96. So in 96, she wasn't on Facebook yet, obviously, since it didn't exist for another decade almost.
Off the wall.
Sure.
You're going to be talking this week a lot about taxes.
Yes.
If you want to cut me off, you can. But I am passionately concerned about this tax issue between Dole and Clinton.
Okay.
And I have been dirt poor, quasi-poor, college poor, and I have been very well off. The American dream has come true for me. And I'm telling you, if we don't get rid of the IRS and get a flat tax, we're going to keep a nation of alienated criminals. I mean, everybody in America is an alienated person because of the IRS.
Boy. Anne had some opinions, didn't she? A flat tax ain't it, Anne. I don't know what to tell you. It's so weird because she was so liberal in so many ways and a huge Clinton supporter. I don't remember Clinton supporting a flat tax. I do remember Dole talking about it, but boy, this is a weird one for me.
Yes, nobody can understand the rules. I recently ran a letter to President Clinton that I published in Variety. I bought the page, and I said, please give us a flat tax. Beat the Republicans to the punch.
But she loved to buy a page, didn't she?
And 3 days later, I got a letter from the IRS. We're going to audit you. First time in 12 years. And they came over and they haggled over little bitty things. But nobody, I'm telling you, had a room full of lawyers and accountants. And when I pay, so much taxes really that it's ridiculous to be audited. But nobody knows the tax law.
Okay, so she is right that nobody knows the tax law. That's absolutely true. And the only people that truly take advantage of it in the right ways anyway, I mean in the people who take advantage of it in the right ways, as in to their advantage personally, are tax cheats, very well off people who could be paying their fair share as a rule. I mean, it's my understanding that basically every other country in the civilized world just sends you a bill. Like, this is what you owe over what you've already paid. I don't know.
Nobody knows whether this blouse is deductible because I wore it on your show. Cost $39. Came from international mail. It's junk. But I mean, I shouldn't say that.
They don't deduct this either. But...
Well, they won't?
No.
You're kidding me. But I mean, nobody knows the answer, Charlie. Nobody knows the tax law. And so I just want to say right now, please, Mr. Clinton, go for a flat tax. Go for a flat tax and go for a flat minimum income so that people can collect their welfare and work, because Americans are going to work no matter what you have to do.
Wow, in '96 talking about UBI. I'm down for that, I guess. I'm not with her on the flat tax, but I am with her on UBI. She didn't call it that, but universal basic income. Man, it works. People are going to work anyway. Like, I don't get paid to do this. I'm doing it, right? Yeah, people are going to work anyway. They'll find things to keep themselves busy, and they'll be more creative and more productive if they're not shackled by having to literally make ends meet.
You know, no matter what you do to them, they're going to work. In addition to welfare, disability, or anything, they're never going to lay back, Mac.
All right, well, let me ask you, you obviously voted for President Clinton, I
did indeed. I registered for the first time in 15 years, and I think he's terrific, and I think he's had one of the most astonishing administrations I've ever seen. I mean, the country has had biblical weather. I mean, foreign politics has been beyond belief. Yeah, there has been, war everywhere. I mean, it's so much.
2016 through 2024 would like to speak to you.
Ever happened to one president?
Well, let's say the taxing. It's very interesting to me, as you know, because of politics. Would it cause you, if President Clinton doesn't advocate, a simplified tax form, something close to flat tax, which he's not going to do, would it cause you to change your opinion and vote against him? Is it a powerful enough issue for you to vote for Senator Dole?
No, I will vote for Clinton. I will vote for Clinton, but it's very, very
policy over money. I appreciate you, Ann.
Tempting, but I I don't want to be offensive, but I don't believe in the effectiveness of the Republicans to help us as a nation. See, I believe all the ideas, the wonderful ideas that FDR brought in were really needed at that time, and they worked. But now we need the exact reversal of that. We need just flat tax, flat minimum income, nothing based on disability, handicap. No incentives. I know people who just missed by, $25 getting a grant to buy a house. They just made $25 too much. Yeah, I mean, that's ridiculous. And we have this happening all through our society, and we have people on welfare who, knock on my door and say, look, I'm on disability, I've got a broken knee, and I collected, but I can iron sitting down. Would you pay me cash? And we say we can't. The IRS will come after us if we do that. All of us throughout the nation are workers. We know that now. Americans are not going to stop working no matter what you do to them. And FDR got them back to work, so now cut their tax, cut this welfare thing out, throw out all this bureaucracy, stop.
And always had opinions, strongly held. She'd say them with her full chest, no matter exactly how well informed she was on any given subject.
Stop meddling with people, what they're doing in addition to collecting their checks, and just, let them go to work, and the economy will take care of itself.
Does Ann Rice, a multi-millionaire, think she pays too much money to the government, or does she simply think that the system...
Good question. Good question. You're going to be an eat the rich kind of person, Ann, or is it just a hard system for everybody?
Doesn't work very well
for
the productivity of the American economy.
I think the system doesn't work very well.
So you're not really complaining about how much
income? No pitchforks.
I pay what I have to. I pay about 45% of what I make between the state and the federal government, and I only take off very limited business deductions. But I'll tell you this, what I do try to do is spread income among those in my family who are indigent, which I don't want to hurt their feelings, but there are a few distant cousins that are indigent, and I have to pay gift tax on that money. So, to give it to them, just so they can live. Keep their houses. I mean, so no, I don't think I pay too much, but I don't like it. I mean, I think other people pay too much. I don't know how.
It's not me. It's not me, Charlie. I'm fine with my taxes. I feel bad for the other guy.
How they take it. I don't know how they can stand it. See, I think we really want to spend our own money, and we want to do good with it.
Do you also, therefore, want to see the government dramatically reduce its spending?
Oh, I think it's not that they have to reduce their spending. They have to reduce the utter chaos of the IRS and the chaos of the
that's for revenue
DEA.
side.
Yeah, all of that extra spending's coming from too many IRS agents. And 96 is a long time ago.
That's on the revenue side.
Yeah, no, but I mean, just they have to get the bureaucrats and the liars and the double dealers out of there. That's what they have to reduce, and that will go way down. If you abolish welfare and you just have a national minimum income for which people have to register, you can abolish all those investigators who keep going out to check to see if women are really keeping a man in the house or really working an extra job. All that spying on the disabled to see if they're still disabled. I mean, we were rewarding rewarding people in this country for not working, for being disabled, for being mentally incompetent, for being sick. You know, it's just got to stop. I mean, Americans cheat anyway.
Americans are going to do two things, Ann says. They're going to work and they're going to cheat.
It is American to cheat. Most Americans that I know think anybody who pays his or her taxes without taking off every conceivable deduction is an idiot. You know what I mean? When they hear that I pay, 45% or so, they say, you're crazy. Haven't you heard of offshore companies? No, I'm going to pay my taxes, America is my country. I'm third generation Irish.
On a liberal conservative spectrum, where do you find yourself today?
I don't know, man. I can't tell where we're going. I think the Republican Party is just, I don't see any party. And I think Mr. Clinton has been beset by every obstacle that.
It's interesting that in '96 she's already writing off the Republican Party. That's something.
The president can be beset by. He's been, he's had these petty people nagging at him over these little bitty lawsuits.
The Whitewater stuff and all that.
Yeah, right. I don't want the president of the United States spending time on stuff like that when we have to worry about terrorism, and we have to worry about foreign war, and we have to worry about real threats to our economy, whether or not, people in Russia are selling nuclear weapons to Middle Eastern countries. I'd much rather have him doing that, and have some little, at least temporary immunity. I don't believe he should have, carte blanche.
He needs a little temporary immunity, not carte blanche.
No, carte blanche. You didn't expect this, did you?
No.
Charlie was expecting some sex talk, Ann, not politics.
I like it. I mean, it's a different side of you.
But it's in this book.
I'm not surprised, though.
I'll tell you, it's in this book. I mean, Servant of the Bones.
You've brought in all these contemporary themes.
You have to grow as a novelist. When I started with Lyrical Interview with the Vampire, it was very much a hothouse type of horror novel. Okay, well, I'm growing with the paranormal, and I think I'm able. I hope I'm able to do it. I don't know.
I think she was. She was a gift all the way to the last book.
Well,
maybe Faust was political at the time. Maybe Macbeth was. Maybe Hamlet was.
Well, I clearly.
Faust is totally political at the time. I'm certain.
You were. Shakespeare was, for sure.
Yes. The whole Banquo scene was done for the benefit of the king.
Servant of the Bones is a novel by Anne Rice. Now, you just signed a deal with Knopf for, speaking of taxes.
They won't tell me what. Knopf
they won't tell you, or they won't tell us.
Knopf doesn't want me to tell. I would cheerfully tell you it was $26 million, but Knopf does not want me to tell you that.
Okay.
I would cheerfully tell you it was $26 million, but Knopf doesn't want me to tell you that. She signed a big long-term deal with Knopf, I guess, in '96 for $26 million. Kudos, Ann.
You know why I would tell you? Because I think every little writer out there trying it or typewriter should know
should be
that
inspired
you can
by the
make
fact that you got
$26
million.
Yes, that you do not have to be George Foreman and you don't have to be Tom Cruise. You can do it writing.
Yeah.
You can do it writing very strange books. So, but Knopf.
You can do it. You can do it writing very strange books.
If I told you they gave me $26 million for 3 books, they'd kill me.
$26 million for 3 books for $26 million. Woo, boy. Oh man. Okay. What were the 3? What were the 3 that came after '96?
I don't know what to do with these moral questions.
I don't either. Let's see, what's the tax on $26 million?
Well, it'll come in increments. I have to write these books, Charlie. I have to go home. I have to be inventive, And my mind is like a popcorn popper.
Stop talking to me about sex and politics, Charlie. I got to go write books.
I just can't wait to get back to Scripture and write something about Mary Magdalene. I want to really...
Your mind is fertile as well.
Yes.
If we knew what was going on inside your mind.
It's interesting she mentions Mary Magdalene. Of course, she writes 2 Jesus novels later. She doesn't finish what she said was going to be actually a 4-part series. She wrote Out of Egypt with a young Jesus, and then The Road to Cana, which leads up to the wedding that opened his public ministry.
We'd all be scared.
I tell you from time to time.
Well, yes, you do.
I am seriously
thinking more than you tell
of
most.
I do. I get on the show and make comments about murdering pimps and becoming an anti-terrorist.
Yes, you do. Well,
I do. I sit there so angry at people that would kill innocent people. It's the awful thing about so much revolutionary activity is it is the poor hurting the poor.
Boy, that I'll agree with you on, Ann. It's going on right now all over the world, all the time.
Now, I'm not saying that the poor should hurt the rich, but it's often so self-defeating. You know what I mean? Well, what in the name of God good does it do to bomb a building full of working individuals? You know what I mean? Just
of course it does no good.
It's
hideous. I mean, now, let me go back to President Clinton.
Yeah,
does he read your books?
I have no idea.
Have you ever had any contact with him?
I wrote that letter and published it in Variety.
Yeah,
he didn't answer.
He didn't answer.
The IRS did.
President Clinton didn't often answer letters in Variety, I don't think.
By the way, they didn't find much. They settled for a very tiny amount of money.
I know.
But nobody knew what was what. I mean, it was truly an example of how no one knew what was deductible.
But I'm surprised the president reads, and he reads lots of mysteries. I would assume that at some point he's picked up an Anne Rice.
Let's assume he reads the books. He's from Arkansas, man. That's the South, you know. I expect some loyalty.
Yes, you do.
But I'm not going to accuse him of reading.
Arkansas is a very different South than New Orleans. Thank you very much. I mean, I don't know. Ashley's from Arkansas, so it's not that different, I guess.
You voted for him, and you're going to vote for him again.
Yes, I'll vote for him again. I'll do anything for him.
Even though most of your philosophical leanings seem closer to the opposition.
Well, the Republicans are saying this now, you know. But I mean, look what the Reagan years did to the middle class.
You know, I just thought about it. They're both from Hot Springs, actually. They're both born in... No, he was from Hope, right?
And I felt that Reagan hurt the middle class terribly. I mean, with what he did, anybody could have come in and thrown half the nation out of work. We could have stopped inflation. Jimmy Carter could have done that. We know that.
One more jab on our way out the door.
You know, I mean, but so no, I can't forgive the Republicans for that, and I cannot vote Republican. And I admire Mr. Dole. I think he's a nice old guy, you know.
Bob Dole's a good man. Bob Dole's a polite man. Bob Dole reads Anne Rice dirty books.
I think he's this very sweet, nice old man.
He was much admired as a Senate leader.
I don't understand is how we can have a president with the dynamism and power of Clinton, and not have more recognition for that strength. You know what? There's got to be this guy. Are you trying to cut us off?
Yes. Yes. God.
Yes, Anne. Wrap it up.
Safe.
Okay. It's been fun.
She's unstoppable. Once you wind her up, she just goes.
Well, you got me on a subject. You know, Antonio Banderas and Bill Clinton are two very good-looking men.
Yeah, they are. I guess that'll do it for you. Servant of the Bones is the book by Anne Rice. We thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll see you tomorrow night. Hootie and the Blowfish. Join us then.
Oh, good job, Anne. Good job. Good job, Charlie. I love it. I love it. All right, there you go. Another reaction video, folks. I appreciate all of you for watching and listening to these. And we've got more coming. Ashley will be doing the next couple, so watch for those in the next coming weeks. Don't forget about our book club starting this weekend as we're covering part 1 of the Vampire Lestat novel. And then a week from now, we've got The Lost Boys. We're going to be doing movie night, our first movie night here as we're in between seasons of Interview with the Vampire and Mayfair and Talamasca. So it's all happening on the Articulate Coven. Check out the merch store in the links. Get your merch in. Those orders will start shipping on July 30th. Thanks, everybody.